Hello, good morning, and good evening, and good afternoon, because we have participants from all over the world. As he mentioned, my name is Vincent Prakash. I actually lead the Hudson Continuous Integration server effort at Eclipse Foundation. As our host mentioned, that this is a series of talks, and in this talk, I'm going to mainly concentrate on the basics of practicing continuous integration. And in my coming talks, I'll be talking more on advanced topics on continuous integration. So this is the standard disclaimer we have to provide. Do I need to read the whole thing, the host?
But fine, I'm sure everyone's reading that already. It basically says don't do anything you tell them.
Thank you. So before going into the talk, I wanted to quickly touch upon on the development lifecycle. So as we know, the development lifecycle is engineering practice we use for planning, creating, testing, and deploying a software application. A decade ago, we used the waterfall method. In that case, the phase of each of this life cycle is zero. That means you design something and then give it to the developer. They develop and they test, and it goes on. This usually takes 6 months to 1 year to complete the cycle. However, in the last decade or so, we moved away from that particular method and we moved to the more agile methods. In this case, the turnaround time for a particular development cycle does not take months to years, but we keep it within 2 weeks or 4 weeks to do that. So in order to achieve this, we need some kind of continuous development tool to take over all the things. Otherwise, if you're doing all these things manually, it's going to take a long time to do that. So one of the tools is Hudson. So Hudson is used for in an agile environment. There are so many other tools out there. Hudson is one of the popular tools available. So if you divide the phases into an integration phase where the developer is developing and integrating the source code into the repository, and then we have the phase where the testing is happening, and then finally we have the phase where the product is delivered to the deployment environment. Interestingly, all these things can be automated, and it must be automated if you want to have an agile environment where the product is being developed and cycled within a couple of weeks. So let's see how Hudson is helping to achieve this. So in this talk, I'm not going to talk about the continuous testing and continuous delivery, but I'm going to concentrate mostly on continuous integration, which is the first step in making Hudson to work in the automated environment. Okay. So what is Hudson? So Hudson is an open source continuous integration server. It is developed at the Eclipse Foundation. It is fully open source and fully free, and anyone can participate in the development of this product. So Hudson can do several things. It can check out source code, build and test the project, and publish and communicate the results. And people can go and see what's going on, and all those type of things can be done, and much more. So in this particular talk, I'm going to only talk mainly about these things as Hudson as a continuous integration server for software development projects. It can be used for so many other purposes, but that's not the topic for this particular talk. So what are the key features of Hudson? You can easily install. In fact, there is no installation at all. You just get the WAR file and you can deploy it, and I'll tell you how it is being done. And primarily, it is so easy to configure the entire Hudson and make it work for you within few steps. And it has a web-based interface, so it makes it easy for you to access it from anywhere in the world and it supports distributed building. That means you can have masters and slaves, and you can offload some of the work from the masters to the slaves and all those things. And as I mentioned earlier, in a distributed system, unit testing is very important. So everything is covered by Hudson tool, and information about notifying the build status to the others in the team is very, very simple with the Hudson. The most important part of Hudson is one of the key features of Hudson. It is highly extensible with plugins. So Hudson comes with hundreds of plugins, and if you are not satisfied with that plugin and you wanted to develop your own plugin, it's extremely easy. It's extremely easy, and we have the complete information about how to develop the plugins is available on the web. And if you are keen, and much more information is available in the book earlier you saw in the slide. So, as I mentioned earlier, there is no installation step for Hudson. You just download the WAR file from the Eclipse Foundation website, from the Hudson site, and then you can just invoke it directly from the command line with a simple command, say java-jar and the Hudson WAR. And there are some options whether you want to run it in any port or something like that. If you don't want to provide any of the port, Hudson will still run on the 880 port, and then you can access it from there. So was there a question? Okay. Anyway, so that's one way of doing that. So if you want, I mean, most of the people, they will run with that configuration. We know Hudson, when you run with that Jetty, it uses Jetty from Eclipse Foundation, and Jetty is a very, very good Java container. So you don't have to deploy the Hudson WAR to another Java container to run it. But if you prefer that way, you can use Glass or WebLogic, Glassfish or WebLogic, or any kind of Java EE container available on that available. You can simply do that also. So how do you access Hudson? So when you run Hudson, as I mentioned earlier, Hudson is a pure Java web application. So you have to access it from a browser. You go and say localhost 8080, and then you will get the Hudson up and running. You can see all the information from the Hudson is available in the browser, and you can access that. So if you are deploying it to a container, usually context root is added to that. So then you have to access the Hudson using the context root. So for security purpose, most of the time when you are installing Hudson, you usually front it with a web server like Apache or Nginx for best security. So in that case, usually you don't use the port number, and then you can directly use that. So how to do that, and all those informations are covered in my book. And actually, I'm planning to do a series of talk, and in my later talk, I will cover all those things, how to configure the Apache server or Nginx server to forward your Hudson server so that you can access it. So anyway, so once you are done that, now you go to the website, and then you say localhost Hudson, and then you will see the Hudson popping up there. So the first thing, if you are installing Hudson for the first time, the very first thing what you do is you wanted to configure the security, and then you want to configure the tools, and you have to plugins and slaves and etc. So initially, the very first thing we would highly advise is to set up the security. It's very important. even though you are behind the firewall in your office, but if you have sensitive information and source code, or if it is building sensitive source code, you might want to set up the security first. Setting up the security is very easy. You go to the Manage Hudson and configure security, and Hudson provide different set of security available, and you can pick up any one of them, and you can set it. So the most often and the very easiest one is Hudson's own database. So it keeps all the information about the user locally, and then you can use that. Or you can use if the company has set up its own LDAP, then you can actually hook it to that LDAP, and to that database also you can use. Then also Hudson provides variety of authorization scheme, like a matrix authorization. One of the authorization we introduced recently is called a team-based authorization. I will show a quick demo of that one, how that works, but I won't be going into detail on how to set up a team-based authorization in this talk. So once you are done with security, the next thing what you have to do is you have to go and set up the tools, because you might want to use Maven or JDK or different types of tools you want to use. So Hudson does not know where all these tools are there. So you have to go and specify where the tools are there. Often people forget to set up the tools, and then they try to build, and Hudson does not know where the tools are there, then your build might fail. If the build fails, the first thing you want to see whether I have set up my tools correctly or not. Most of the time on a Linux machine, or even Windows, Hudson tries to find the tools on the path settings, but if it cannot find it, then you have to specify it by yourself. So that's all. So once you done that and you set up everything, then you can start develop and creating the jobs. So Hudson provide very different types of jobs. If you are developing a software and you want to always use the freestyle software project, or if you want to create a job and you wanted to run the same job in different environments, like for example, you want to run the same job in Windows and you want to run it on Linux, then you wanted to create the multi-configuration project. So the same job will run on a Windows or on a Linux or on a Mac machine. So to understand about Hudson, so as we know that if you have already used Hudson for your purpose, then you should know that it has a different. It's able to provide you the status of the job in the build history. So it uses the colors to say what is the status of the job is. So if it is red, it's obvious it is failed. If it is green, then it is success. So most of the time people may not know. Also, it provides an yellow ball which says that the job has not failed, but it is unstable. The meaning is you can actually say that don't fail my job if the test fails, but make it unstable, so that I know that the yellow means that there's something with my testing which I have to look into that. So that's a good way of specifying that. There are so many other things like which we will be covering later about like code analysis and all those things. In those kind of things, it's not really a failure, but you wanted to make it as an unstable in that case. So then Hudson is also able to tell you the progress and how much the product has been, the build has been progressed. So if you see a blinking ball, then you know that the build is in progress. So one of the things people sometimes overlook is the stability of the product. This is very important, but often we ignore that. So Hudson can also tell you the stability of the product. So if you see these type of icons on the left row, so you have to be careful how stable it is. If it is fluctuating too much, and if you see, let me go to the next slide, which explains it in more detail. So you have to try to keep the stability such a way that you always see your sun, which is saying that it's highly unstable. You can say that no tests are failing and all the builds, recent builds are, and Hudson usually take about 5 to, depending upon the number of builds, it takes about last 5 or 6 those to see the stability of that one. So if you see a dark cloud with a thunderstorm, then you know that particular build is highly unstable. You wanted to give attention and see why it is failing. You know, a lot of times we don't give attention to that. You know, sometimes what happens is it may not be the product, it may be the build environment, it is your slave or something which is causing the build very often. So you might want to give attention to this particular cloud and to go and look at the history and see what is the event. But sometimes often it's okay if it is slightly unstable because of course some builds may fail and all those things. So it is okay. But anytime you see an unstable or highly unstable, you wanted to give an attention to that one. So I'm going to quickly go into the different type of dashboards in Hudson. So Hudson has, as I said earlier, that is the main dashboard. That is where you see all the status of the different jobs Hudson is building. Then from each of the jobs which is listed on the main dashboard, you can actually move on. You can navigate to the particular job dashboard. In the job dashboard, you see plenty of things. It has the leftmost side. It will display the history, and in the middle, it will display the most of the contents of the build, and the rightmost, it will display the trend. So from the history, you can actually go to the build dashboard. So the history displays all the, it's not shown here. I will demo that quickly in that one. So when you click on the history of a particular build, it will take you to the build dashboard, and it will show all the information about that particular build. So these 3 dashboards are very important. The primary dashboard is where all the status of all the builds are being shown, and the next one is the particular job and its contents, and the third one is the dashboard corresponding to a particular build. So I'm going to move to my desktop, and I'm going to show a quick demo of the Hudson actually running in the background. So I'm going to share my desktop. I hope you can see my desktop. So this is how I start. I got a TP. Let me go back to the OLL and see. Okay, I don't see any. So let me go back to the desktop. So as you can see, I have started Hudson using simple. simple. Okay, not sure. I'm hearing a beep beep sound on my earphone. I don't know whether it is because I'm trying to select something or something. So anyway, as you can see, I have used Java-jar and Hudson war to start this one. So once it builds, it started, it will tell you that Hudson is ready. So at this point, you go and type localhost 8080, and then Hudson is ready. So in order for this demo purpose, I already set up a little bit. So I'm going to log into this. So when you log into Hudson, when you try to log in, it will give you a login dialog, and you can just log in into that once you log in. And I'll quickly show you how to manage Hudson. So you go to the Manage Hudson link on the left-hand side, and the first thing what you see is configure security. So I mentioned earlier, so this is what you want to do the very first time when you start using your Hudson. So I have set use Hudson's own database for this purpose. If you want, you can actually set up LDAP, and you can specify the LDAP server. I'm not going to go into detail. So as I mentioned earlier, Hudson came up with a different authorization strategy. So you can just say anyone can do anything, but that totally defeats the purpose. The minimal thing what you have to do is at least the logged in users can do anything. But we don't recommend it, but at least I want that you should set up that security. So the team-based authorization strategy is the recent one which we introduced in Hudson 3.1.0. So the concept is simple. So the people are developing a Hudson may be used by a company and which has so many different teams. So basically, Hudson displays all the jobs on the main dashboard. But unfortunately, some of the teams, they don't want to display their jobs, or some teams, they don't want to see the jobs of other teams. So in that case, it is better to use the team-based authorization strategy. So it uses a system admin who can completely manage the system, but also it allows you to specify team admin where they can just manage only the team. I'm not going to go into detail. Probably in my next talk, I'll go into detail about that. But I can quickly show you that you can create a team, and then you can add a new member, and then you can specify what are all the things that new member can do. All these things are done through this team manager. Then only you can look at the job specific to that particular team if a member is logged into Hudson. So let's go quickly and create a job. I already created a job 1, so I'm going to create a job 2, and I'm going to specify that which team I wanted a job 2 to be. So earlier I created a job in WebLogic, so I'm going to create in Web Service, and you can see that now my job has been created, but I am not going to configure it now. And you can see that I have created 2 jobs. One is called the job 1, which is in the WebLogic team, and then I created a job 2, which is in the Web Service team. So I am going to configure this job quickly. At this point, we have not talked about the other aspect of continuous integration, so I'm not going to do anything on this one, except I'm going to just add cell execute, and just I'm going to say this because this is running on a window, so I'm going to say just display the directory, and I'm just saving it. Now I'm going to build it now. So it is built, it failed. I don't know why. Let me see why it failed. So you click on the log and you can see that. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I think I'm not supposed to use a shell script on a Windows. It's stupid of me. So as you can see that it is Hudson knows that you cannot do all those things and it does the right thing. So let us go and configure it and try to delete that builder and try to use a right one. So the right one is execute a batch command on a Windows. So go save that and now build. Now you can see it passed. So you can see when it is passed, it puts a success, and when it is failed, it creates a thing. So I just asked Hudson to display the directory. So it display the directory, and since I did not specify which directory to display, it always Hudson always uses a workspace to run all the jobs. The workspace is usually under the in the job where the job is located. So since we don't have anything there, it is just displaying simple. It says that nothing is there. So now, if you go back to the main dashboard, you can see that now you can see the cloud. It is showing that it is kind of unstable. The stability is about 50% because, as we know, only one build is done. So let me build it a couple of times, and then you can see that. Let me build one more time, and then you can see that that cloud is changing. The sun is coming. The stability of the product is increasing. Now the stability has increased. So let me build a couple of more times. Now you can see that that blinking is in progress. That means the build is in progress. Since I have not given auto refresh, you can see at the top, there's an auto refresh. If you enable that, this page will be refreshing every time. Since it is not, auto refresh is not enabled, so you have to manually refresh to make sure that it shows that. So you can see that now the stability is almost 80%. So let me build it one more time. Now you should say that it should start showing the, okay, so now it has become, it is showing the sun. It says that because almost no recent build has failed. So in a real continuous integration environment, you want to make sure that your build setup is always having a sunny setup as there. So let's go back to our slides. So what is continuous integration? So we have set up Hudson, and we were able to create a single job, and we ran it, and we saw everything is working now. So now we want to set up Hudson for the real continuous integration. So Martin Fowler is one of the pioneers in promoting continuous integration, along with several others like Jeff Humber and I forgot different names. So there are a lot of people out there to promote continuous integration. So continuous integration is nothing but it states that every time a team member checks in some source, the source must be immediately built, and the test must be run continuously, and everything is verified. And the most important thing is if the build fails, corresponding parties and whoever is interested in the product must be notified, and the defect has to be immediately fixed. So earlier days, as I said earlier about the waterfall model. In waterfall model, each phases are serial. So once the development is done, we do not know about the bugs in that one for a long period, maybe 2 months, 3 months. down the lane until the product is finished and due to the QA. So, but in an agile environment, everything has to be known immediately. So that's why the continuous integration is very important. So what is the best way to practice continuous integration? So we know that in order for this to work, there should be a single source repository. So it's important. Single source repository does not mean that it's corresponding to that you need to have only one SVN slash trunk or Git with particular thing. It is a set. It means that the central repository server is where you all commit your code. But it is very important that in order, I mean, I'm not going to cover that in this one. Maybe I will cover in my next talk. But in order to keep the builds faster, like you can see that keep the build fast in the fifth or sixth bullet point here. You have to use a separate repository for the different units of your software. We will be cover that in the next talk. So the important thing is your build must be automated. That's why Hudson is there. So every time the user commits, the build automatically is start, and also it should be self-testable, and the testing results also should be available. And also, if you are very keen on continuous delivery, which we are not going to talk about in this talk, you have to have a clone of your production environment. I'll be talk about it in the next talk. And everybody should be able to get the latest executable. Like, for example, as I said, unlike in the waterfall model, we are not going to wait for months to give the executable for the QA to test. So if somebody checked in today and tomorrow, the QA must be able to take that product and test it. So somewhere it should be available. So Hudson is a very good way where you can make your product available on each build. So in order to setting up a central environment, you need the CA environment. First, you need to find a repository. So in Hudson itself, we are using continuous integration, so we use Git. But there are other source code management repositories are available. Hudson supports all of them, and you need to have a dedicated build server and tool like Hudson. And as I mentioned earlier, every time you build, so the product must be tested. So you need to have a testing framework, and then to build your tools and you build. Then Hudson acts as a dashboard to provide the information about your build, and all those things, all this information are very much part of a continuous integration system. So the first thing what you have to do is you have to let know Hudson where your sources are. So that's the only way Hudson is going to build all those sources. As I mentioned earlier, Hudson support almost about 20 different SCM providers, but the most popular is Git, CVS, SVN, and Perforce. And interestingly, Git is becoming popular, and it is used almost by more than 60% of the people. And then the next popular one is SVN. So once you tell Hudson how to run the build, the next thing what you have to do is you have to first you tell Hudson where the sources are. So once you tell Hudson where the sources are, next you tell Hudson how do you build it. So that means Hudson also need to know about the tools. So there are so many tools are available like Ant, Maven, and Rake and shell scripts and all those things. And Hudson understand all those things, but most of them are via plugins. They are not built in. Only Ant is built in, but you can install all different plugins, and then you can use all those build tools for that purpose. So I will quickly show the different type of plugins and how to install in my next demo. So once as I mentioned earlier, once somebody is checked in, the user Hudson need to know how to build it. So Hudson is not going to automatically start building it whenever someone is checking in. So Hudson provides different ways of start building the sources automatically. So the one is you can tell Hudson that you build it periodically. So that means you say that build my product every 1 hour. So it is every 1 hour Hudson will act as a cron and it will keep building it. But that's not how you want to do that. You wanted Hudson to poll your SCM and try to find out if there is any new code is checked in, and if no code is checked in, then don't build it. So Hudson is also provide an SCM trigger, which is the most important thing which you use to trigger your build. So there are other things like upstream and downstream builds. That means, as I mentioned earlier, you can have all your sources as a single repository, and once somebody commits, and you can just start building it, and the builds may take 2 hours to finish. But that's not the correct way to do that. You have to divide your sources into different modules, or I would call it as a chunk of builds. So each build should not, in a typical CI setup, they have to divide and conquer is the best policy in a CI. So you divide it such a way that each of the builds does not take more than 10 minutes. So if I would say that you have set up a very good CI system if your builds are not taking more than 10 minutes. Having said that, it's not necessary that your builds always have to take only 10 minutes, because there are different types of builds. One is a continuous integration build. As I said, it should take 10 minutes. Then there is an integration build, usually run nightly. That is where the build periodically comes into picture. You say that build my product nightly. So you say once a day, and then you specify that at night time, then it builds the entire product. At that point, the entire product can take hours to build. So basically what it means is, it starts with one module and it continues to the next module until the entire product is built, and you get a fully available product for the QA to test next time. But a CI build means building of each unit. So each unit should not take more than 10 minutes, but the entire unit can take more than 10 minutes. So the meaning for setting up to build it within 10 minutes is, if somebody checked in, if the particular unit is broken, they should notified about the broken build within 10 minutes. We don't want the build to take hours to know that somebody has broken the build. That is not a good CA environment. So setting up using upstream and downstream so that the builds goes in a pipeline is the most important part of the effective CI setup. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the demo mode and quickly show you how we can set up the Hudson to run a product. Okay. So I'm not going to create a new job to explain that, but I'm going to show based on what we have right now. So this is the Hudson, what we set up for seeing for our Hudson itself, for building the Hudson itself. So if you go to the core, it has Hudson core and then some of the core modules. So you can see that the test harness is failing because we started building 3.1.2 now. So the test harness is built. So we introduced some stability. But the most important thing what you have to see that is the core module. Okay, so this itself has. Let me go back and show the configuration. So if you look at the configuration, so this is set up to use a Git repository. So this is the repository from where we are getting the Hudson sources, and then we are saying that is to pull the source code for every 15 minutes, and then if there are some changes, you build it automatically. Okay, so this thing is set up to do a continuous integration, but we don't have build it periodically. I will explain why we don't have it, because this is a continuous build. We want this to be done as build, and then in the build we are using Maven 3 to build that. So it is using Maven 3 build that, and then we will talk about the publishing later. So you can see that. So you can see that there is another one called core test harness. Okay, so this test harness is built every time the core is built. So you can see that the upstream job is a core Hudson core. So let us go there and look at the configuration. And here I have set it up such a way that you build the core test harness immediately after you finished building the core. So why we have set it up? The test harness is separate. As I mentioned earlier, we don't want a CA build to take a lot of time. So let's go back and see how much time the last build has taken. So if I go to this build, and you can see that it took about 4 minutes and 36 seconds to build the master. So this is pretty good. So it is less than 10 minutes to do that. But however, the most important thing is all unit tests also must be done as part of this CI. So you can see that it's almost 578 tests have run on this build, and it still took only about 4 minutes to run that one, because here the unit tests are developed in such a way that it does not take much time to run it. So this is again an important concept of a CI build. Keep your unit test fast, okay? But on the other hand, most of the time you may not be able to write a unit test which is slow, which is very fast. For example, if you wanted to hit a database in a unit test, then it will take a longer time. So in that case, you might want to split the build into two. One is for building a core along with the unit test which passes fast, and you use mocking instead of hitting the actual database for that purpose. However, that's not always the case. You also need to run a test which will hit the database. So you separate that out and make it as a downstream job, so that the second will run only if the first one passed. So assume that somebody has checked in and they broke the build, So you don't want to know about the testing and all those things. Run for 2 hours and you know. So if you go to the test harness and you look at the last build, it took almost 37 minutes, right? So you don't want, so 37 plus 4, about 40 to 45 minutes. So if somebody has broken something in the initial CA build, you will get within the 10 minutes. But however, you will get a notification after 45 minutes if your test harness it failed. But it doesn't mean that you should wait for days to build your test harness. If your test harness fails, you should attend on that same day. So the basic principle is divide the build in such a way that your CA build is fast, but your extended test might take more time to build. Okay, okay, I wanted to show you quickly about plugin manager. So the most important thing is to set up is to install the plugins, whichever you want, because this plugin is the one which is plugin manager is the one allows you to plugins which you might need to run or use different services. As I said, in this particular thing, if you see one, we are using only the Git plugin, but there are so many different sources of plugins are available. So we divide the plugins into features like featured, so that those plugins are maintained by the Hudson community. And then we have a set of recommended plugins. I'm not going to cover all those things. Whenever you wanted to see, you wanted to look at the recommended plugins also, because we tried to group together some of the plugins you might require for a better continuous integration in the recommended plugin. The featured plugins are more or less you must install, except like some of the build tools like Maven, but rest of things would highly recommend to use this. So let's go back to the presentation. Okay. So as I said, automated testing is an important part of the CI, but dividing the unit testing into the CI build and the extended test build is also important, as I explained earlier. So another thing which we would recommend highly for a CA environment is not only just running the test. For example, suppose if you are having only 10 tests for an entire product, and if you, I'm sorry, is that a question? Okay. So if you are setting up only some 10 tests or something like that, and if it is running all the tests and it is passing, that does not mean that your product is of very high quality. So there are different static analysis tools which will explain. Oh, okay. There is a question about the compatibility of Hudson versus Jenkins plugins. Yes, we always try to make sure the plugins from Jenkins are compatible in Hudson. The most important thing about this particular plugins compatibility is we did an analysis of different type of plugins being used. That is what I said is recommended, and then others. So we get input from each of the Hudson being installed, and we also get information about what all the different types of plugins are installed. So let me finish this 1 second. So what happened is, based on our analysis, we picked up the most important plugins which are used by different people. So based on the priority of the plugins, we make sure that those plugins are compatible from Jenkins side. So if something is not compatible and if somebody comes to us and asking us, we definitely make that compatible available. So Mercurial plugin, there's a question about Mercurial plugin. I'm sure that we made the Mercurial plugin working last time. I'm not sure. Not sure what is the version, but I thought that we made it work. If it is not working, please let me know. I will make that working for you guys as quickly as possible. So you can always file a bug at Eclipse bug system, and I will take a look at it. So I thought that the Mercurial plugin is already working. Okay, so coming back to the static analysis tool. So we, with this, as I mentioned earlier, we have some recommended setup plugins, and these plugins are part of that. And we make sure that all these plugins are highly compatible with Jenkins, and we keep the latest plugin from there available. So as I mentioned earlier, having just 10 tests and everything is passing is not a good CI environment. So these tools will give you a coverage, how many tests are there, and also it can give you a static analysis of the quality of the code. So it's very important to run these plugins and make sure that your builds are in a high quality. It's not just that they are passing. It's not that important. So I showed earlier, I also a demo of how to publish all these results so that you can view via Hudson dashboard. So as I said, when the product, we try to cycle through the product every 2 weeks or so in a sprint. So the product is improving. So one of the things what we need to know is, how about the test cases? Are the number of test cases are also improving along with the product, so that the unit 10 test trend is a very important thing you have to keep a watch out on, and make sure that when your code, a number of code lines are improving and your unit test coverage is also improving. On the other hand, as I said, we always split unit test and integration test into a different things. So a lot of times when the product is in the initial stage, the integration test may be highly flux, and you can see there will be a lot of tests failing. But it is okay to ignore in the initial stage of the build, but never ever ignore the unit test failing. So at some point we have to make sure that the unit test the trends are decreasing. So over the sprint cycle, when the product is ready to release, your integration unit test should pass completely at that point. So that's a point when you are sure that your product is almost ready to be released. So, but Hudson gives a very way of monitoring the what do you call the deliverable of your product. So as I mentioned, Hudson also, you can use the code coverage tools to find out how much of the testers are being covered. And then also you can see that line count, which is increasing over the year. So there are tools to monitor all those things and plugins too. So it's important that whenever the line count is going up, you also should see that your test result trends are also going up. And also you can see your coverage is also going up. So the Hudson dashboard pretty much gives you an idea about the progress of your product. It's not just building the product, but you can use Hudson as an overall progress meter for your product. So the last thing is, how do we notify to the thing. So, okay, you started building or you are monitoring everything. So, but anything broken or anything is thing, so people need to know about that. So Hudson provides it's about 20 types of different ways of notifying. The most important is email. Email is the very first thing. Then you have IRC, you have SMS. All these things can be set up from this. So I think we are almost out of time. I'm going to quickly show the different trends on the how to look at the different trends, and then I think we can finish this talk. And more advanced detail I'll be talking in the next release. So this is where it is showing the test results trend, right? So this is very important to watch this test result. Unfortunately, I was trying to find out to show you guys how the other results like code analysis can be viewed, but unfortunately I forgot to I couldn't find out anything handy in the morning. So I'm just showing the test results. So if you have installed any plugins and all those information is available here, so you can go and see the test results, what is failing and what it's passing, and then you can actually go from the class level to the method level, and you can further go into each of the details. And if any test is failing, then you can find where that test is failing. So overall, in a good continuous integration system, it is not about just building it. It is about how effectively you set up your Hudson such a way that it builds fast, and then it also gives you information about the quality of the product, how the product is progressing over the lifetime of the product life cycle. So everything has to be set up. Then only we can call that Hudson is set up effectively for the continuous integration. So I think we are out of time. So I will let you guys to ask more questions if you have more questions. So, host, can I hand it over back to you?
Thanks, Winston. Appreciate that. I have a couple of polling questions going to get a sense of some of the future presentations. I know we're already past the hour, but if folks have a couple of minutes to answer these, we would appreciate your responses here.
So one of the things which I'll be interested to know from you guys is anyone has set up Hudson for continuous delivery.
We've answered that, I think, Winston, you might have missed that question. We did ask the question.
Oh, you did ask the question?
Yes.
Was there any answer for that?
There were, and I don't remember all of them, but I will I have that information.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
So there are a couple of questions while the poll is happening. People are typing in some questions. These are being sent to me privately, so that's why you can't see them.
Okay. So those questions, I can answer it offline. And
I can send that to you.
Oh, okay. So there is a question about Unix user group and database in the security setting. So I believe that you are asking about PAM authentication from Unix, right? So yes, it is still available, but only thing is we have extracted out and put it as a separate plugin. So if you want to use that, you have to install that plugin for that purpose.
Yeah, I think some of the other comments. This is the first of a series of sessions or webcasts on Hudson. So this is the basic introductory one, and the level will increase as Winston comes and presents future sessions on Hudson. So I think there are some questions on the level of coverage here.
Yeah, that's correct. So this mainly I targeted for the beginners or somebody who is just coming into Hudson and trying to know what continuous integration is all about. So I tried to cover only the basics. So the advanced level of talk I'm planning to cover in my next talk.
Okay. I'm seeing if there are any other questions.
Yeah.
There is one.
There is a question from Tim Payne about how does Hudson 3 differ from Hudson 2.0? Okay, so the main difference between Hudson 3 and Hudson 3, and then I will answer the question about the Jenkins. So the main difference between Hudson 2 and Hudson 3 is Hudson 2 was not from Eclipse Foundation, but Hudson 3 is from Eclipse Foundation. So Hudson 2 was more or less maintained by Oracle, and in Hudson 3 we moved it to the Eclipse Foundation. So the most important aspect of Hudson 3 is we cleaned up the code base and we made sure that the license of the license of the libraries what we use is enterprise friendly. That means if somebody wants to take Hudson and they wanted to make it part of their product line, it is a lot easier to use. This is one of the primary goal of Eclipse Foundation itself. So any product which is coming out of the Eclipse Foundation is enterprise friendly. So on the process, you can see that we moved away from, from, I am not able to see the chat window. So we moved a lot of the old libraries. For example, the Jenkins, for that matter, is still using the old library called ASGI Security. So the one mandatory thing on the Eclipse side is we have to use to the latest Spring. So we moved from a lot of all those things, old libraries, and into the new library. So the main goal for Hudson is to make the product stable. So we are not that keen on putting and dumping too many features into the Hudson, but we are trying to make it as stable as possible. Of course, we introduced several features, but if you see that one, in most of the features what we introduced are very useful for enterprise level. For example, we introduced the cascading project, which is in Hudson. Then we introduced that team management in Hudson. So these type of things, we did not introduce them arbitrarily. We introduced them because we got feedback from enterprise level Hudson where they say that we use thousands and thousands of jobs, and these jobs, maintaining these jobs is a nightmare. So give us a good solution. So we answered to them. Then we spent an entire cycle to improve the performance. For example, in 3.0 or 3.01, you cannot have thousands of jobs and tens and thousands of builds. And the Hudson just cannot handle that. But we spend an entire cycle to make sure that we improve the performance. Now you can keep thousands of jobs and tens and thousands of builds. It does not take even more than 128 MB of memory. We reduce the memory footprint as much as possible. So, as I said, Hudson we are making as a tool for the enterprise level customers.